All right.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to PlanetGenX, a podcast that explores the unique experiences of those of us born between the 60s and 80s. Here we will discuss a myriad of topics such as gaming, movies, ADHD, and nerd culture in general.
Just the kind of stuff we grew up with, man.
Man, yeah, you know it. How you doing tonight, B?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm pretty good, man. I can't complain. Although, dude, I have been busier than a meth head with a crackhead girlfriend who just knocked all their drugs off into the shag carpet. I've been busy as that. Yeah, I mean, it's bad, dude. But, I mean, you know, I will overcome as best I can.
There you go. Well, why don't we talk about what we'll be talking about on this broadcast? We'll talk about what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, we've got, today we will be discussing a few things like, let's see, we got Nintendo's new approach to games, TOTK, which I never remember what that stands for. Go.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the King. And Metroid Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom. And Metroid Prime Remastered. Yeah. I heard about that, and I almost went and looked at it, and I don't know, I didn't. That was one of those ADHD things where I just didn't. And then you brought it up later.
That happens to me all the time.
You brought it up later, and I was like, well, I wish I had now. Also, SNL had a pretty cool skit we'll talk about later. Mando's lights. What's that?
We also wanted to talk about SSDs.
Yeah, that's right. SSDs.
Maybe not as green as you thought.
That's right. Yeah, that's what they're saying. Their carbon footprint is very high, they say. John
Cleese?
John Cleese and Faulty Towers. Here they're making a comeback, maybe another.
There's a lot of talk about it. We'll see.
Yeah, I wonder if that'll be a BBC thing or not. We'll have to talk about that.
We will.
Hogwarts Legacy. Ooh, I got a lot to say about that.
Yeah. Well, that kind of falls into like our big category that we're going to do, kind of the stuff we'll probably give more time to.
Yeah, because that's in the news and just me talking about me playing it, what I've experienced so far.
We're also going to do a little bit less talk about the DC slate and James Gunn, all that stuff.
Yeah, Constantine too.
Right.
Yeah.
What's going on there? But you wanted to make a big portion of it for Goonies, right? Yeah,
well, I thought we might talk about the Goonies a little bit. That's something that's near and dear to most GenXers' heart, I would think. It was a great movie in 1985, and I recently came across, I guess it was a YouTube video. And I don't know if it was a new video or something that's been around for a while, but talking about some of the lost scenes that weren't in the theatrical release, but because of cuts, were in the cable releases, and you may remember them, but then you're not sure if you remember them or not. So hopefully we'll talk about that kind of stuff and all things Goonies and whatnot.
Hopefully. There were a few different versions, so yeah,
it's kind of a weird thing.
I think that you had one more thing you wanted to talk about, and that about covers the list.
Yeah, we might talk about Roseanne coming back to stand-up comedy as well. Yeah, we might do that. Yeah, and also some Cyberpunk. Is the music too detached from the story? That might be a question we ask.
Maybe.
All that and more. Here we go.
I think that covers the top. I think we can dive in.
So let's just dive into the news right off the bat.
All right.
Which one do you want to start with there?
Well, I guess we'll start with Nintendo, yeah?
Yeah, go for it. This is one that you brought to the table here.
Nintendo has always been a weird company, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
From the beginning, they have
a very Japanese approach to gaming, which is funny in and of itself, considering that many games did. But there is a very American culture to gaming too. But
right,
yeah.
But Nintendo always had they're just unique games. That's one thing I always remembered about them, whether it was NES, Super NES, N64 was a big deal.
Yeah.
Nintendo DS and 3DS were a big deal for a lot of other people. I never really got into those games, but I won't say I have never played any of the handheld stuff.
Well, for me, you know, I remember when the Nintendo Entertainment System came out, and of course, we lived through the great Atari game crash of '83, and you know, you could buy Atari games for next to nothing, which was great for me. I probably wouldn't have experienced Atari had not been for the game crash, because
well, I mean,
my mom didn't have the money to be just buying whatever. So I remember in '83, I got a brand new Atari 2600. And I could go to the local KB or whatever, and they had a bin full of just every game you could think of for pennies on the dollar.
Right.
And, you know, that was awesome to a kid who's never played it.
Yeah.
But then, you know, when the NES came around, it was the same story for me. All my friends had it, so I just played with my friends. So I got to enjoy it. But I never owned one, not until years and years later.
I didn't have a Sega, but I had a friend that did.
Yeah.
And we always played it.
Yeah, everybody had the one friend that went for the Sega too.
Right.
And because the Sega, man, that was like an expensive alternative, and everybody was like, "Wow, Sega!" You know, it looks so great. You know, it was. It had its own.
For what it was.
Yeah, it had its own little world, but it didn't really blossom until Genesis came out.
Right. When we can spiral all out.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting us off on
that and Dreamcast.
We're supposed to be talking about Nintendo.
We can do a whole episode on that. But yeah, Nintendo. I don't know. I always just remember great gameplay, especially when it comes to Zelda. Of course, the original, A Link to the Past, which I didn't play much of, but I did play a lot of like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask.
That's the one I wanted to play, Ocarina. See, I played the very first Zelda. I didn't care for 2 at all. I don't remember much, but I hadn't played much Zelda. But the Ocarina, I remember my little brother just being all about it, and I always wanted to go back to that game because I've heard so much about it. Yeah,
it was just I don't know. I mean, it was another Nintendo game. You know, obviously a lot of flat surfaces involved.
Is that
so the artwork was very stylistic.
Is that the 64 game, or was that Super Nintendo?
No, I think Super Nintendo was A Link to the Past.
Okay.
But this was on 64, I believe.
Yes, that sounds right. And I say that because in that too, I can see another reason, because of it's like the first first person type Zelda game.
Right, yeah. It
like
was.
Mario World was, and so I can see the appeal there. Because I got a visual of it in my head, and I'm just sitting there thinking about how I would love, you know, how much I loved Mario World, and just playing kind of that same style and having Zelda. Yeah, I can see how that would be very appealing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it also had like weird story bits. I don't know. It was just they're always doing their own thing in their stories over at Nintendo, I think. But we're going to talk about Tears of the Kingdom just a little bit. I don't know much about it. I didn't play the previous one, Breath of the Wild, which, you know, rave reviews, a lot of hacks to be done in it. I don't know. It's I don't know, man. It just really, the idea of playing that game did not really grip me.
Yeah, it doesn't appeal to me at all.
Right.
So,
but it was supposedly a great game. But the big deal is supposedly, I'm repeating myself a lot tonight. Apparently,
no. Go ahead.
They took some assets from Breath of the Wild that they're planning on to use on Tears of the Kingdom. And I've got maybe mixed feelings on that. You know, just reusing old shit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it up. And is that well? So does that mean Metroid Prime's going to suffer for the same thing?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how old the video I saw of the Metroid Prime remastered was, but it really, I don't know. It really felt like more of a nostalgia call than a remaster to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, Prime was another one of those games that I've seen, haven't really played much, didn't really do.
Well, I mean, to me, a remaster just one. It was probably a game that was pre-HD, so you're going to put it in a format in HD, and you're going to lay on all new textures that are look good in HD, and that's pretty much it. You're not going to really vary the gameplay, I wouldn't think. You might go through and
Dead Space 3.
Yeah, I mean, you might go through and do a really good remake and strip out all your models, put in better models, and besides just better textures and stuff,
right.
And just cleaning it up for HD. But like Final Fantasy did, that's a remake,
right?
So
I don't know. I disagree because it was no. I'm sorry, I got lost. Yes, that is a remake, not a remaster.
Right. Yeah, remaster would just be pretty much just throwing it up for HD and that's it, huh?
Yeah. And I think they would have done better with that, right?
In that case, yeah.
But for sure. So those are two things coming up. They announced on the Tears of the Kingdom, they had a leak of the price. Everybody was outraged. It's supposed to be a $70 game.
Jesus.
They tried to back it up a lot and say, no, this was just something that wasn't meant for public eyes. We're not necessarily doing that. And eventually it came out. It'll be a $70 game.
You bring up, and I know we get off on tangents, but this is a good tangent to go off on. You bring up the $70 game, and I sit here and go, Jesus. Well, I mean, $70 is a lot of money no matter what time you live in. And I can tell you guys, because we lived in it, that $60 and $70 games have been around since I was a kid. This shit's always been expensive, and you can go to these websites where they'll show you old flyers and stuff, or wherever you can find that stuff, and it's there to prove to you that $69 and $59 for a game is what we've been paying just about our entire lives,
forever for a console game.
Yep, that's it. I mean, and you consider inflation and all that stuff. I guess we're lucky we're only paying that much.
Yeah, no. Well, I agree somewhat, but at the same time, Metroid Prime is going to be $40.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why my experiences were different on the reviews, but
it all depends on what they put into it, in my opinion.
Right.
How much money they had to put into it to make it. If they put a lot of money in it and it looks like a polished turd, then no. You can't ask a lot of money for it. But if you put a lot of money into it and then you come out with this game that really stands on its own almost, then I think you have every right to charge $70 if you want. Especially if you put the money into it.
Even Tears of the Kingdom is still going to have that distinctive Breath of the Wild look.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more polished, maybe a little bit. It'll look a little bit better, but it's still not going to be like. It's going to be highly stylized fantasy.
Yeah.
Like it always is. But, I don't know. I guess this is another aspect of how game companies are going to be able to afford to stick around. Because there is an absence of great games over the past few years, right? We've had some great games.
Yeah,
but we're just used to having... more, right?
Well, people are holding out for these huge-ass AAA games that are just going to wow the hell out of them. And guys, those cost money like multi-million-dollar pictures cost. It's amazing the amount of work that has to go into a AAA game nowadays. And you look and you get pissy with these people about being 7 years late, like Hogwarts Legacy. We'll talk about later. Has a little bit of history of being a little, long in getting here. But, man, when you see the result, you're like, well, shut my mouth. I'm sorry I said anything,
Yeah. No, I agree. It takes a lot.
Yeah.
To deliver on a good product.
Yep.
But, Tears of the Kingdom, Prime Remastered, coming out. If you're interested, check them out.
Yeah, if you're interested, check them out. I won't be.
Right.
SNL, man, had a pretty funny little thing.
They did. Every now and again, I find something there that I love.
Yeah, and I would never have seen it had you not brought it up, because I just do not do SNL, man, not anymore.
Right.
But it was a Mario Kart skit, and it had a very special Star Wars related actor in it, and of course everybody loves him too for that new show. Land of the Lost or whatever, whatever it's called.
You're talking about the Last of Us?
The Last of Us, yeah. I knew it was something like that. I knew it had a 4-letter word with L in it.
Well, yeah, they've been doing really well with that, and I don't know, SNL just sometimes finds a skit somewhere and it works out, and this was one of them.
It's a Mario. Yeah, it's great, man. It's
and
really
Pedro
good.
is just so great on the delivery on all that shit too.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal is playing Mario, and who's Wario, by the way? I mean
Wario
Luigi, not Wario. Luigi.
Bowser
sorry.
is Keenan.
Yeah, but Luigi. I didn't mean to say Wario.
Oh, Luigi. I don't know. He's the skinny white blonde guy.
Was it? Oh, is that the dude with the giant dick or whatever that the girls are always after nowadays? The real dumb
I don't
guy?
know. Oh no. You're talking about Pete. No.
Yeah, Pete Davidson. That's not Pete, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Some other guy, but he's long term cast member now.
Yeah, I really don't know who's on there, and I only know Pete Davidson is because you hear about him and all his girls that are with him.
Now, I didn't recognize it, but somebody said that one of the ladies from American Horror Story played a cameo in it. And I haven't seen her yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I have watched those.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen the last few. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. We're getting a little Discord lag, too. It's weird with doing Discord because he gets a slight delay with me. So if I say anything, I step on him by the time he hears it. So that's why you see him being that way sometimes. Just a little note for people out there.
A little bit of a hiccup and a buffering issue there.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a great skit. I loved it. I thought that it was written pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, well, I guess, we got to kind of paint a picture. If I get real crafty and have time, I might actually throw a little bit of it in there, but I don't know if I can actually do that. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I might do that. But yeah, it's like, yeah, maybe there'll be a clip somewhere in here, there.
Right.
There. It's Mario Kart, but it's basically like what's Fast and Furious Mario Kart. Yeah, post-apocalyptic Fast and Furious meets Mario Kart.
Right.
Or I guess Death Race 2000 meets Mario Kart.
I was thinking more like Death Race 3000, Mad Max, something like that, but it did have more of a Death Race feel to it.
Yeah.
Or supposedly should. And it's basically, they wanted to take The Last of Us and mash it up with Mario Kart. All of the series.
Yeah, so The Last of Us, Death Race, Mario Kart, and you get kind of an idea with the little Pedro Pascal. It's a Mario. Yeah, it's great. You guys will love it.
Yeah, check it out. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I want to say all the lines that I remember.
Yeah, that's about the only one I thought was. It just caught me because instantly I'm trying to do the voice. It's like, okay, I can do that. That's easy. So
well, I will bring this up. There is one last thing I wanted to mention, and there's this idea of how comedians make the best dramatic actors, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And it's a matter of timing. I think even if they're not stand up, it's a matter of being able to improv, and that's where this really came together for me, because they would give these great lines in a very dramatic fashion.
Yeah.
Like, I did a whole if we die.
Yeah, I saw a whole really bad, I think we were watching Fantasy Island or something. It was like really bad telephone acting. And I was telling my wife, I was like, you have no idea how easy it is to act. It really is. And I grabbed my phone. I said, I'm going to telephone act for you right now. And I did this whole thing on the spot, right then and there. And you would have sworn I was on the telephone with somebody. And I mean, I had a whole thing going on and everything. That right then and there. It's not hard. So, yeah, I agree with you definitely about stand-up and the timing with and acting.
Yeah, and I mean, if you do get on stage, you get a leg up like theirs as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, being on stage is nice. It's a nice feeling. It really is. I love hearing the people laugh, man. Makes me feel good. It is like a little shot of fucking heroin. Faulty Towers.
Yeah.
I skipped
John
one
Cleese.
deliberately.
The original boys. You know, we had Monty Python before we had Matt and Trey.
Yeah, man. This is like the original group, comedy group, troupe group. And he's not real happy with the BBC over it. So I was a little confused about the article when I first came across it because I had already heard that he was doing Faulty Towers with his daughter. So apparently nobody from the original show, probably not many of them left alive anyway, but...
right. Well, no, actually, I think only one of them has died of the main cast. The other two are retired. And I think one of them may have some health issues.
Yeah, he had, at the time, his wife was a co-writer on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And...
well, his co-star also was the... I can't remember the name.
Right, it was his wife co-star. Yeah, Connie Booth.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was his wife co-star at the time.
Okay.
They may have actually been separated by then, but they were still, writing together and whatnot. I don't know, but they were married.
Right.
And she's not going to be around for this. And, and she's probably as much a part of that show, if not more, than he is. Because she was one half of the writing team. So
exactly. You could tell that.
Cleese is a funny man, though. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
I loved everything, Fish Called Wanda, all kinds of stuff that he's done.
Yeah, he's great. Here's the thing, though. I saw this video where he's talking. It was a video basically about him just talking about everything woke. And people asked him, could you do, this comedy in today's environment? And he's saying, well, yes, you should, and nobody should really be saying boo about it. We need comedians to be uninhibited. And that's what I've been saying. It's one of the reasons I thought about getting into comedy, because I wanted to save it in a way. I could see where people were getting scared, and I wasn't scared. I mean, I was a new guy who you can't really cancel a new guy. You can only not make him famous, less famous than he already is, right? So
right.
I figure one, I'll get to entertain some people, hopefully, and two, maybe I can help save something. Mm-hmm. That seems to be people are scared to say tell a good joke, because what was funny seems to offend people nowadays. They're just hurt too easily. Get butt hurt too easily, man. It's just jokes. It's just having a good time. When you come into a comedy club, you got to leave all that at the door. That's my opinion. Yeah. You came to have a good time. Laugh about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, in a comedy situation, that is one thing. Like you got to respect whoever's on stage.
Yeah, you can't be going around slapping people, man. Shit.
Yeah. If you throwing a beer at somebody because you think they're a hippie liberal. Right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, so when I saw this video of him saying, he's poor old John Cleese. I guess I hadn't seen him in a hot minute.
Yeah, he's getting up there. But he's old, man.
Yeah, he's getting up there in age. So you think about that and the kind of physical comedy that went into Basil Fawlty. Right. That guy, I mean, doing the Hitler high step probably wouldn't come off today anyway, but, I don't think he'll be doing that in this new series at all. Right. So,
well, I doubt he could do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, but if anybody was going to, I'm sure he would try, and I would, but I just don't think he'd be physically able. But I guess it is happening. It's just not happening with the BBC because they're actually afraid of him, it sounds like. They don't want to... They want to put certain restraints on him that he doesn't want.
Well, what I got from the news is that he wasn't even pitching towards them because he was saying that.
Oh, okay.
Because
Fair enough.
And also he brought up like stuff in the past that led him to believe that this would be the way that it was, because it was BBC that did it originally.
Oh yeah, man. It's funny for us to say that too, because I look back at old and I thought, wow, boy, they could get away with tits on screen and whatnot. Right. And you think, well, how controlling were they? And they'll tell you they were very controlling. Yeah. So who knows, man? It's all about perspective and where you live and how you have to live under a certain government, I guess.
Yeah, and who's regulating you? That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It could go either way. It could be a total nightmare. John police in an echo chamber with his daughter.
Yeah.
Or it could be a really great revival.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it is, because I love him, and I'm all for reboots of certain things, and this would be one of them. You know, Red Dwarf keeps itself going the same way. It's not really rebooting, but it just continues on, and I love that.
Yeah.
You know, Still Game was another one. Still Game, for those of you who don't know, was a Scottish show that was on for a long time, and it disappeared for about 10 years, and then came back for about 3 more seasons before they finished out strong. So that just goes to show you that people, if you got something that people like, you don't necessarily even have to reboot it. Just bring back. If everybody's alive, bring them back.
Yeah, MST3K did it too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look at Picard and all those guys. I mean, essentially, you're about to do the Next Generation season,
right? Yeah. Well, that's what it felt like.
Yeah, and then people are going to love it for that. I mean, the one we're about to come up to, it's going to even be more of that with Worf and everybody else and all that. It's going to be that pretty much. It's not going to be Picard. I still wonder, and it may have already been said because I've heard it was happening, but then I don't know if somebody just told me it or I just made it up in my head, that after this that they're going to do a show with all of them. It's just not going to be called Picard. So while everybody's sad that Picard's going to be over, there's still something, you know, like the Next Generation.
Well, I mean,
the next generation or something.
Yeah. That's a huge fan base, though, right?
Big fan base.
Star Trek, Next Generation, I would even say they're neck and neck because of the difference in age groups. There's probably more of the original version that have died out that were loyalists to the first, and more kids that was their first memory of Star Trek was the Next Generation.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of those. For me, it was, I mean, even though we didn't see it originally, it was always the original series. It was all that was ever on in my house for years and years until 1987. When the Next Generation come out. And even everybody then that was taking a huge shit on it. Everybody was. Nobody was ready for all these people who we'd never seen before to come on our shit. Yeah, it's funny. Y'all hear me say that and think he's out of his damn mind. Next Generation's fabulous. It could have never been like that. No, I assure you, people were writing strong letters. Yes, people wrote letters back then to the television stations saying, we do not like these people. We don't want them on our screens. And because of that, we're very lucky that it's even there. Because 2 seasons, the first season's rough. Second season is a lot better because they're finding a footing. They're also getting old people out from the first season and new people out that you'll see ultimately makes the 3rd season. That's when the Next Generation really takes off. Michael Piller comes on board, and then it's on.
Yeah, it differs from that usual thing where you have that first season. Maybe it had a lot of heart, but it definitely had problems, and then it instantly gets better in the second season once it gets money. It took them the 3rd season to really get their footing, but at the same time, it led them to sustain for a while.
Absolutely, yeah, they were in like Flint at that point. If you look back at the first season of the Next Generation too, it is essentially the original series with a modern paint job, because all the writers are just about the same from the old series. The sets, the planet sets are almost exact copies of the old series. They're just, like I said, they're just a little bit prettier. You're only talking about 20 years. It's not that long. It's just better cameras, really, and better visual effects. Yeah. That was essentially it.
And spandex.
A lot of spandex. A lot of spandex. How do we even get onto this anyway?
Well, we were coming off of Faulty Towers.
Yeah.
We did not mention SSDs, which we had in the lineup. I don't know. Kind of feels like not necessarily the right place, but doesn't feel like there is a right place.
No, there's never a right place for SSDs.
Yep.
SSDs, man, supposed to be, one, I love SSDs. They are a godsend for what seems like we've been on these mechanical platters forever.
Jesus. Yes.
And they are dog shit slow. And anybody that's ever used an SSD, or especially if you put one in and replace of a spindle drive in your computer, then you know how beautiful of a thing it is. But,
so much true.
Apparently, they're not as green as they would like. You know, they have a high carbon footprint. Apparently, I came across that article earlier today. And
you know, can I just say that I really hate that we're going off of like carbon footprint. Yes, it's important, but I mean, you know, aren't there other elements of green shit that we should be concerned about? People keep talking about like how nuclear power is green, and I'm like, you wind up with this husk that, you know, we can't be around.
Right, we have nowhere
assuming
to put
we
it.
exist for millions and millions and millions of years.
Yeah, we got to store it somewhere away from everybody, and that's going to pile up after a while. Yeah. Although it's still, you know, I mean, look, there's no right answer. The problem is people get way too extreme in their views about everything. This has to happen right now. They're not realistic in their goals. They want everything. Okay, so everybody wants electric cars right now. Well, you have electric cars right now. Go out and buy you one if you want to, okay? But to start forcing oil out of the picture when it's not meant to be out of the picture yet, just isn't going to work. You have to put out a plan. You have to put out a very long-term plan. I'm talking 50, 75, maybe even 100-year plan. 50 to, you know, somewhere in there of this is what we're going to do. This is how we got to do it. And you got to be realistic about it. And you got to expect things to get in the way. So you know,
I wish I'd. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say you're never going to get off oil for a while. I'm sorry. Face facts. We need it. You think, well, I don't know how you expect to power all these electric cars without it. You want to talk to me about solar, wind, and all hydroelectric? We can do all that, but until all that's in place,
can we do hydroelectric?
I don't know if they're. I mean, you
know,
Lake
Mead's dried up. All these lakes are drying up.
That's the problem too. But I mean, they have wave generators that they can put out in the beaches and stuff. So there's different ways to do things.
There are,
but all that has to be part of your plan. All that has to be in place to take.
You gotta have infrastructure.
You gotta have the infrastructure. What are you gonna do when you get rid of all the oil? You're gonna be staring at each other in the darkness, is what you're gonna be doing. Except for the few people that have, you know, nuclear power plants and stuff like that. You gotta have coal for these power plants. You just gotta come up with a plan. That's fine. I'm fine with green. I have no issue with that. But you got to be realistic about it. And these people are just getting to be Nazis about everything. It's just wrong the way people are acting. It's not just that. It's just everything. Stop trying to force yourself on everybody. Live and let live, I always say. So what? Yeah, and that comes from SSDs, everybody. That's my rant on the green.
Yeah, I was going to say something. I wish I had an article pulled up. We kind of added that one a little late, but I had read something recently specifically about how companies aren't necessarily as green as you may think they are, right? They get credits. Some of them just, you know, do land purchases. And, you know, this company, that's what it was. Certain companies would say plant a tree to offset this amount of their carbon footprint, right? And it's kind of farcical, in my opinion. But yeah, you know, infrastructure. I'm not a huge fan of Elon Musk, but you know, right now he seems to be the only one that is willing to put the money in for the infrastructure for electric cars. Unfortunately, he's kind of trying to make it a monopoly, right?
No, not really. I mean, it's up to the other companies to get off their ass and do something. He's been doing it a long time, and it's all open source. They can all copy his shit if they want to. So I hardly think he's standing in their way. Everything that anybody can go build a Tesla right now. It's all open source. Yeah. And
well,
as far as
you and I can't.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. I mean, if you got the know-how and you can go buy the parts, you can build a Tesla if you want to, and it's a straight up Tesla if you can get all the stuff. But you want to talk about companies being really green? All you smelling your own fart people out there that think you have a low carbon footprint, you might want to throw your cell phone out too, because cobalt is all up in them phones, and
oh yeah,
that's all they're screaming about now is, we're going to run out of cobalt and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, even that, like, there's so much chemical processing that has to go on, and so many of the things that we do and have that, that's kind of along the lines of what I was saying, like this carbon footprint idea. Like, yeah, that's a really important sector, but, I mean, you got to think about, like, sustainability and, overall, how it's impacting everything.
Well, you bring up Elon Musk. He's doing great things to try and further us, into a future where we're more energy efficient. And he was a liberal darling not that long ago, until he bought Twitter and tore down their propaganda machine. And I got a friend. You say you don't like him. I don't know why you don't like him. I've never heard you say that. But I got another friend that can't stand him and called him an idiot. And I mean, you lose total credibility with me when you say that about Elon Musk. You can say anything you want about him. There's probably a lot of true things you could say. An idiot ain't one of them. If you're telling me that, then you just don't know anything about him.
Yeah,
you're ignorant to him, at least, to what he's doing. I'm sorry. I guess I'm a self-confessed Elon fanboy.
Well, I was going to say, for me, it never was like he was a liberal's wet dream. It was always the rich liberals, right? They're a separate sect of, people that can afford Teslas and shit like that, than most of the rest of us. And, when people who are bringing down $100K a year are still living paycheck to paycheck, I don't know.
So you're one of those that think he shouldn't have the money he has? Is that what you're saying?
No,
or he should spread it more?
I'm saying that the people who were fans of him were the people who could afford his shit.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I see somebody trying to do something, and he's for freedom of speech. He's for trying to, a lot of people say, well, why are you trying to go to Mars? Why don't you try and save this planet? Well, I think he is trying to do both. I mean, he's trying to help this planet, but at the same time, he also sees that maybe we need an escape route, because we've already talked about in the first episode about Younger Dryas and about that whole, comet thing, how it hit the Earth, and there was probably an advanced civilization here 12,000 years ago that got wiped out, and that could easily happen to us one day. So if we don't have anywhere to go, then who knows what could happen? It might be the end of us for all we know. So I'm not one of those that's against the idea of going to Mars. I think there's a lot of merit to it. This certainly would follow with Gene Roddenberry's vision.
I don't know, man. I'm still of the opinion that things are going to be fucked until we get our moon base that is non-denominational, right?
Maybe. I think the moon base might be make more sense as a launching off point towards Mars.
Right.
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
that's
our
where you're
moon
going to have
base
to build
would be,
stuff.
Yeah. Where we reach out from.
Yeah.
But it can't be controlled by a nation or any particular sect or a chairman.
But maybe somebody else needs to do that. I mean, Elon's looking out further out, and he's got the capability to try. So maybe somebody else needs to try going to the moon. I mean, you have Bezos out there. Let him go out to the moon and try and start building some kind of infrastructure out there. I'm all for that too.
Yeah.
I'm all for space travel, man. If it's safe and viable and it has a purpose, and we're trying to get out among the stars, I'm all for that. I've always why wouldn't I be for that if I'm a fan of Star Wars and Star Trek and all that good stuff, man? It seems like everybody who's a fan of that stuff would want that, I would think.
Yeah. I was just going to say that's one of the things I loved about The Expanse. It had a very everybody that had complaints about sci-fi movies should watch that.
Yeah, because it gives a very realistic approach to, like, we could have this right now.
Right. Yeah. There would be consequences and problems and potentialities, but I don't know. We should probably move on. We've been on.
I don't even know what topic got it. It was probably SSDs got us all.
SSDs was that, and we wanted to cover DC, and then we'll get into the meat.
Yeah, you go ahead and cover your DC slate and your Constantine thing there.
All right. Well, big news. Gunn and drawing a blank. The two people helming the DC slate that's upcoming.
Yeah, I know James Gunn's one of them.
Did a release. Yeah, I know who it is, but I can't think of the name.
The only person I know is Jim Lee at DC, and he was a great artist back in my day. Right.
But anyway, everybody noted the absence of Constantine 2 on there, which was I find kind of interesting, but we'll get into that more later. I want to put some meat on these bones. But apparently Keanu Reeves had been asked about it, and apparently he was still doing scenes. Somebody contacted, is it WB?
Yeah.
Doing Constantine? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Contacted them, and they made a statement that, filming's going ahead. It's still going to be released. It may just not be directly tied to that slate. And that kind of brings us into this idea that DC is now trying to pitch themselves to a larger studio. So basically they're trying to keep their options open.
I'm sorry, DC, WB's not large enough for them?
Well, apparently not.
Sounds like they want Disney.
Well, they're trying to pitch, and
could you imagine Disney having Marvel and DC?
I mean, I had a problem imagining them having Star Wars and Marvel. So.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Marvel, them having Marvel. I actually don't have a problem with them having Star Wars. I don't think I have a problem with them having DC either. I think if they kept it compartmentalized enough, and kept, Kevin Feige doing his thing with Marvel and Favreau and them guys doing their thing with Star Wars, and James Gunn working with that dude you can't remember, and I can't remember his name.
I've been saying Peter all this time, haven't I?
No, I made it. I was just making a joke. Peter Gunn. James Gunn. If they keep it compartmentalized, sure, let it go. But then there's the whole flip side. That was what I was going to talk about. Disney. I was trying to remember the intro for today. Disney. That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was just. We'll try and wrap this up a little quick, and we'll get back to Disney. Right.
Yeah, that'll work.
But yeah, so as I understand it, the slate for DC, basically they bought up a few ideas of Elseworld properties, which this admitted last Batman movie was, right?
Yeah.
Pattinson as Batman was supposedly Elseworld. They have plans for more Elseworlds in the upcoming slate. But a lot of the properties that they're messing around with really seem to kind of fit what Gunn kind of did with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe a little bit of mix-up, maybe a little bit of mash-up, who knows.
Well, you know what? I love that title, Elseworld. I want everybody any studio that ever does a reboot from now on to call it Elseworld. Because that will free you from any fanboy rhetoric. Now, it won't, but it will free you. Honestly, it will. You'll be able to say, fuck these people. It's Elseworld.
There were some great things.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want in Elseworld, can't we? It's Elseworld. It's Bizarro World where different things happen. So I like it because I can't stand a world where you're going to tell me you rebooted Red Dawn and it's not an Elseworld because we're going to fight otherwise.
Right. But yeah, I think that's all there is to that. They did mention perhaps ending with a Swamp Thing movie.
Nice.
which I loved Alan Moore's shit. I loved a lot of the shit before that, but Alan Moore really kind of made it for me. And there was a few crossovers with Constantine.
Yeah,
in the later series.
That'd be cool. And hey, listen, I watched the original Swamp Thing movie the other day. I loved that movie when I was a kid. Adrienne Barbeau, man. Oh, Adrienne Barbeau. She had a nice pair of titties. Yeah, it's great. I'm all for some. I would like to. That would be cool to see like a modern take on Swamp Thing with like a real high budget. Just see what they would do.
I would also like to see something kind of loyal to it. The movie was great. I'm not going to disagree with you there, but there was so much more to the series that really, I don't know, he was kind of like a real anti-hero as opposed to the all the shit that came along after.
Yeah, he's like Venom.
Yeah,
no doubt. What we got?
That's about it for that. Well, I think we want to get into, we got...
I skipped right over. Yeah, I was going to say we need to go over the Mando thing because I skipped right over that earlier because I just thought we'd be kind of long-winded on it for sure. Because we talked Star Wars last episode and we were a little all over the road.
We could talk it every episode.
Yeah, we're going to... Yeah, well, you'll hear Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, you name it, Marvel, whatever, DC, thousands of times watching this channel for sure. Definitely. No doubt. But Mando's Light Syndication. Yeah, that's right before it comes out with the third season on Disney Plus.
Yep, Disney Plus. I think it's March 1st.
Yeah,
they're going to be doing season 3, and leading up to that, who was doing it? It's FX, Freeform, somebody else.
Was it Hulu? Wasn't Hulu, was it? ABC.
I don't think it was. Yes, ABC.
Yeah.
They're going to be airing Chapter 1, Episode 1, basically. And I don't know. It feels like a light syndication to me. It's like,
very light.
We'll let you air this, so people come get their Disney subscription.
Yeah, which ABC is owned by Disney anyway, so that doesn't even. I mean, that's like par for the course there. Which I guess Freeform probably is too, if I had to take a guess.
Right,
they probably all are.
Yeah.
So they're just getting their chance to say, "Hey, look, free advertising."
Yeah.
Plus, it's a big draw for those channels too.
Right.
No doubt.
Anything they can get viewers watching.
Yeah.
But Mando got a lot of hype. We've danced around it a few times on this.
Man, have we danced around Mando? What a good show, huh? We talked about everything. I mean, we've talked about Mando for a half second because really it turned into Book of Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
I just said that backwards. It's like I made Book.
Bubba.
It's Bubba.
Pedro was great in it. Amy Sedaris, who you may not have known from Strangers with Candy. I don't remember who syndicated it, but it was a really strange show.
Yeah, that was on. That was Cartoon Network.
Was it
in the middle of the night? Yeah, because that was like the middle of the night. They actually had live action stuff on a Cartoon Network. It was weird.
Yeah,
they would do 15-minute shows. I always thought that was weird.
Man, I never really got. I tried to watch it. I never really got anything that she did up until Mando.
Or maybe it was Comedy Central.
I think Comedy Central.
I think so too. Strangers with Candy. I think I'm getting this one confused with something else.
It's possible. I mean, there were some great live action shows coming on Cartoon Network late at night.
Yeah, My Heart Hollers or something like that. That was a weird one.
The
Heart Doth Holler or something. That was a weird ass show, man. Anyway, Mandalorian is what we're talking about. What can I say about Mandalorian?
Well, we've said a lot about it, right? It's got great sets.
Well, it's got the volume, man. The volume is so cool. I love that. I'm all about the special effects and computer graphics, and basically the best of both worlds is taking a practical set and CG and putting it all together. These people
in
look
one
like
space.
Yeah, and they look like they're there. It really helps the believability of it. But what can I say about Mandalorian? Grogu. That's what I can say about Mandalorian. I love that little green bastard, man. He's so cute. When I saw that little baby, man, I was like, oh my God, I gotta have one.
Right. And everything was that was the reference for it, because we didn't know his name. It was
it was Baby Yoda.
Little Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Forever. But everybody loved it, and all these products came out.
Oh, but then I went off on a rant, though, back when he first came out, because everybody's like, we've never seen one of his kind. I'm like, bullshit, aren't you all forgetting? Episode 1, you had a female Yoda, Yaddle. I said, maybe it's their kid. I went on and on about it. I was like, why couldn't they have a kid together? And I couldn't find anything about Yaddle. I couldn't find zilch. I think maybe, does she die in the comic book? I think maybe I found that. Like somebody killed her in the comics. Order 66. Well, I still maintain that's Yoda's baby.
A lot of stuff mystery about that race.
But I'm going to be told, right, Jedis don't screw, do they? Well, Vader did, so I'll just go ahead and counter with that.
Midichlorians, man.
Right, yeah. Why couldn't it be a midichlorian baby? Like, got Yaddle knocked up, and there's baby yogurt.
Works for me. It also had a great cast outside of that, too, though. I mean, Mando had Timothy Olyphant, played it great.
Man. Jesus. I love me some Timothy Olyphant, man. I mean, he brought Deadwood to Star Wars. It was great because there's like a little nod to his character in Deadwood there, and he's just perfect for westerns in general. And that whole thing is just a western. That's what's great about it too.
Yeah,
is just being able to experience a western in Star Wars. It's really cool.
Agreed. Yeah,
and you also had, but I loved, not just in Deadwood, I loved him in Justified.
Oh, man.
Man,
great.
He's so good in Justified. And then also with this new comedy he's doing. So he's he's proven to be great with the Santa Clarita Diet. Yep. So funny. He's got great comedic chops, man. He's really funny.
It took him a while to get there, though. I've seen when he tried to do comedy earlier.
Yeah,
and it didn't land quite as well, but he got his legs under him in Santa Clarita.
Yeah, he's definitely the best as a gunslinger, but he's
right.
He's very funny. Now I guess that show's probably dead now, but I would love to see another season of it.
I think it.
I haven't heard that it's been canceled, but they had three seasons so far.
I thought there was 4. I don't know, but I do know that it was
there's
the
a
end
fourth.
of the
I missed it. Well, shit, I need to go.
I could be wrong.
I hadn't been on Netflix in a hot minute.
But, yeah, that was a great series, and I don't know. I feel like we got a lot of the stuff that we wanted out of Star Wars and Mando. Right? We got the desert setting. We got speeders. We got no Jar Jar Binks. No
Stormtroopers are back.
Right.
Dude, I love the Empire, man. Anything Imperial. That's why I say I loved Andor so much, because just getting to see the inner workings of the ISB, just getting to see anything just fleshed out in Star Wars is cool, or any genre I love like that. To me, it's like playing an open world game of that genre. You're getting to walk behind that door, that they just passed with the camera that you would never see again. And you're wondering, I wonder where that door leads to. Well, in the game, you get to find out. Well, in Andor, they explored where that door went, and that's why I loved it so much more than not more than Mando. I mean, they're two different types of story, the way they're done. They're great. But so far, they've been the best Star Wars to come out TV wise. Book of Boba Fett again was great, but it just did not come out the way it should have. It should come out in one big chunk, and it would have stood much better. People just didn't get it right off. I think it was lost on a lot of people. It may have been gained on them towards the end, but I still think it went all over a lot of people's heads.
I agree with you, and we've had that discussion.
Yeah, no doubt. But
it was good. But yeah, definitely Mando and Andor were probably the best.
And this is what always happens. We'll start talking about Mando, and then it gets compared to what else we've seen recently. Right. So we start talking about everything else. I'm just trying to think because, well, you also had Bo-Katan, played by Katie Sackhoff. So another great sci-fi legend.
Right.
You know, so it's cool to see her and as that character. You also have, oh God, my favorite, just an absolute gorgeous woman who I remember as far back as Pluto Nash, Rosario Dawson, man. Absolutely gorgeous girl. Clerks 2.
Daredevil.
Man, I'm just trying to think of all the stuff she's done. Shoot, the Frank Miller movies. He did 2 of them. Sin City. She's great in that. I just can't say a bad thing about her. And to have her be Ahsoka Tano, bravo, man. They couldn't have picked a better person to play Ahsoka, I don't think.
I don't either.
These are just the many things that have come out of Mando so far.
Right.
Maybe Grogu and gosh, just getting to see the lady that's playing the mechanic or whatever.
Oh, that's what I was talking about.
Is that who you're talking? Because I saw her in something. What was she just in? Was that maybe that's what you were talking about? And I was thinking, yeah, I've seen her in something.
She may have done a role, minor role in something new, but that
she did. She just had a role in something. She was just on it the other day, and I kept telling Michelle, I was like, we know that face. It was in a movie we saw or something, but she doesn't have the curly hair wig on, so you can only tell by the face. That wig, man, just makes her a totally different person than she actually looks. Her hair is way different than that. Not curly at all.
Hair and makeup, man. Two important things that they did there as well.
Absolutely love it. And you got R5
I love the Pilgrim story. Huh?
R5 is there with her.
Right.
Yeah. R5's famous back from the original series. Blew his motivator. There's a whole story behind that too that I saw recently that explained like why he blew his motivator.
It's been a while since I've seen that story, but yeah, it's been around for a little bit. I can't remember it right off the top of my head, but there was backstory.
But I wish, I really need to rewatch all the Mandos to get up to speed because this is about as much as I can opine on it. I can't remember enough of the actual stories other than just the things that really popped. I mean, obviously Luke showing up was just like everybody jumped out of their seat like, oh my fucking God, there's Luke.
Well, I mean, there was a great supporting cast to it, but overall this was a pilgrimage story mainly focused on Pedro Pascal. And he did amazing with the role. I think that's a really big component of it.
Man, taking a role where you don't see your face throughout the entire thing, come on. No,
and still be able to emote.
Yeah. In fact, in episode 5, it wasn't even him. It was a stunt guy the whole time. He just came back and did the voiceover.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it was just a great story, and I'm hesitant to spoiler anything in it. But yeah, the dragon. There was a dragon in it. Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I'm not hesitant, man. If you haven't seen this shit by now, get off your ass and do something. What do you call yourself, a fanboy? Please. I used to give these guys a hard. I tried to do a podcast, audio podcast with some guys in a alliance, and we would talk about Andor and stuff as it was coming out, or whatever TV shows were coming out. And now I'd get one of the guys, oh, I hadn't seen it yet, we can't talk about it. I'm like, okay, I'm giving you a week. Because I think we would already gone 2 weeks without talking about it. I said, bro, you're getting one more week, and you're already 2 weeks past what you should have had to get off your ass and watch this show already. We're sitting here talking about it, and how great it is, and here you are talking about spoilers. I guess maybe you need to sit this one out, buddy. There's only so much you can avoid in this world of the internet, man. I get spoiled all the time with wrestling stuff. I can't even turn on the internet without getting some match spoiled.
Right. I don't know. I've avoided spoilers, but I've also been like, I'm not going to avoid these spoilers. So.
Yeah, I've never been one to care really if somebody ruins something for me anyway. Right. Those people go, "Oh man, I'm so sorry I ruined that for you." No, you're fine, dude. I don't give a fuck. I'm still gonna watch it. And I'll probably forget anyway that you said anything. Still be surprised.
Speaking of, on our next topic, I remember an article. Is it Nintendo Power? Where I saw it, I saw an article somewhere mentioning the spoiler that Snape kills Dumbledore with mind bullets, right? Did you hear that one before Deathly Hallows? Yeah, somebody spoiled the ending, but that's kind of a leap off into our next topic.
Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah,
man, this game I finally got. It came out midnight Monday. And I was right on it.
You may have seen a lot of people already playing it.
Yeah. Some of the influencers got copies. Some didn't.
Yeah, and it was up at the top of the viewing list for 2 days, right?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, what can I say other than chef's kiss? It's just, to me, it's awesome. The game visually is beautiful.
I agree. Those graphics.
Yeah, it looks great. And I'm playing on an Xbox Series X, so there is nothing left to chance. And there's 2 modes you can pick. You can pick a fidelity mode and a graphical intense mode. I'm like, well, this Xbox Series X, if it can't play it, what the fuck are we talking about? You know? Right. So I went for graphical. And man, the first time I was just blown away is when shortly in the game, you're following this one professor around, and he does Lumos on his wand. And the tip of that wand, man, just had a glow to it, a ray rendered glow to it that just looks so beautiful. I've never seen in a game before. Because I still have yet to see ray traced graphics in real life in a game. And unless you really know what you're looking for, I doubt you can tell anyway. But
well, this would be one for it, right?
This would show it for sure, and it is. And then you just consider, well, I can go search all over the castle, as big as it is, and it's big. But you're not just limited to that one area. You have the castle area, then you have Hogsmeade, and then you have a whole outside world out of that, where there's these little hamlets that are all over the place that you can go and do stuff. And I haven't even, I think I might have just gone out there recently, but into the big world, I haven't really even ventured out in yet. And I haven't even begun to go all over quite everything on the Hogwarts grounds yet.
I was going to say, it'd be fairly easy to spend a full day just at Hogwarts and Hogsmeade.
Yeah, definitely. And I've only actually, because I am a very busy man, I've only actually got about 5 hours in the game, which sucks, but consider my ADHD, I'm quite proud of that.
Well, the graphics are on point, but also I'm a big fan of the VO work that was done as well.
Yeah, it's very good.
I felt like it was very on point.
It sounds terrific.
Well, it's just also, I didn't feel like there were any stiff lines. The accents weren't, Hackney or
no,
like
it's legit English people. There's no doubt about it. They're not voice actors trying to put on an accent.
But yeah, it was visually and auditorily, to me, it seemed great.
I think the spell casting, I think, works okay. Now, I haven't actually gotten to, because I'm just now getting enough spells where I can switch out spells.
The combos?
Yeah, I'm trying to, I don't know yet, switching in the middle of combat, how easy that's going to be and whatnot. It probably is easy. But so far, I like the way combat's going. The way
I've seen some people that make it look easy and others who just seem to have a problem with it. So I think it's just a matter of layout.
Yeah, and I think too, I'm bad about not using the right analog stick. You can press down on it, and then you can choose your different focuses of who your enemy is. I'm bad about not using that, but I did find the other day I tried to use it just to see if it would help me any, and I think it might have a little bit. So I guess it just depends on how you approach it. But
I don't know. I've seen combat looks like it could be really something unique in this game to me.
It's definitely different. I mean, it feels different. And then getting into combos, if you do it right, you can really do some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I got, like, the first time I got my ass really kicked was with these spiders that just kept coming. Because, like, certain spells will break certain protections, and you got to know which one. So, I mean, that's important, too. So it's not just about hitting just any spell, because you could hit a spell and it might do jack shit.
Isn't some of that stuff in the field guides that you find, like monster compendium type stuff?
Well, you got all these little sheets that you find everywhere, and some of them just tell you things, but like you'll get something out of it. With your spells, you just learn mostly from people. Yeah. So far, anyway, I've just learned them from people. Like you have to do this weird
spell that you're not going to get until like very near the end of main quest. I'm not going to spoiler it any for you, but yeah, one spell that I know of you cannot get before that.
Well, the one I want to get as soon as possible is Elomora. I mean, Elomora, the lockpicking spell.
Yeah,
and because there's a lot of locks all around, and there's a whole thing to do to get before you can get that spell.
Well, there's a quest line, right?
Yeah,
for one of the professors.
There's a dude where you got to go get these demiguises from everybody. And to get that early, as early as possible, is the best thing you can do. You want to get that as quickly as you can.
That brings up one of the things that I don't like about the game for me, though, is, and it's not unique to this game, it's a common problem with games. As far as I know, there's no way to set up custom markers on your map, right?
I don't think you can just put a marker anywhere, but all the places that you want to go, pretty much, you can put a marker.
Well, so, I don't know what I'm saying is, like, if you find one of those statues and it's daytime and you're on a separate quest, maybe you can't switch to nighttime.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Come back to it later.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, you can't.
It needs to have custom markers for that purpose.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've seen 3 already, and so I've just, like, make a mental note. I mean, I guess you could write it down or whatever. To me, that's just part of the fun of it, you know. I mean, I guess, yeah, theoretically, if you had this book, then you could make a mark in it if you were a wizard.
Well, no, I just think, you have free access to a map. How hard is it to add custom markers?
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not just this game. It's a common thing in many games that have come out recently.
I guess maybe they figure you're making it too easy at that point. I don't know.
I don't like it.
No, sir, I don't like it.
I did want to bring up one other thing about the game. Apparently, a lot of the streamers that got it early, especially ones running on weird resolutions or something like that, have a lot of graphical issues.
Yeah, I had a couple too.
Things not properly loading. I saw a bunch of shading issues. And as far as I understand, A, they were less pronounced on PC than consoles, and B, the day one patch solved a lot of it.
Yeah, and that's likely. I wanted to go and check today. I just didn't get the chance because I put the day one patch on last night. I did play, but I did not get to go back to play. I know exactly where I can go to see. I actually reported 2 bugs before the day one patch came out. There's one that had been reported even before I got to it, so I just kind of put my 2 cents in there. And Professor Fig, when you go to his office for the first time, he's got this weird, you can see on his shoulder and right on his face, the polygons that build his mesh. It's like the textures are just I tell you what, for anybody that knows about the 3D animation knows what I'm talking about when I say normals. The normals on the model, it's like they were flipping back and forth. So it was shimmering. The polygons were shimmering, going on and off. So, yeah, that was doing that weird thing, and it happened every time you went into his office and talked to him. So it was easily reproducible. And then there was another one that I reported where I forgot the lady's name now. It's one of the female professors, and you meet her out in the kind of a marshy area. She's doing kind of like a field study of something or whatever, and she's got like a reflection of her glasses under her hat, like her hat's metallic almost. So you can see this reflection. So I just kind of told him, hey, you know, you might want to take the refraction off her hat.
Clean that up a little bit.
Something. I don't know. That's all I really saw, though. I mean, the only other thing I did notice is that there seems to be like some of the graphics first load up, there's a low poly version of a texture kind of comes up, and then it fully renders out. It just takes it about a half second to render out, and then it's there. It's just like it's going from a real low poly count to a real high poly count, and it's just taking time for the GPU to crunch it out or something.
Yeah. My big question would be if they fixed a common issue I saw where, for example, at Hogwarts, if you collected all of the field guides, I think it was, and then collected more, you would get into some bugs where certain chests wouldn't produce anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there was another one I heard that somebody said if your inventory slots were full, don't open a chest because you won't get what was in there. Now,
that was another bug I had.
I did
or
that.
Not a bug, but an issue I have with the game is,
if your
are we not over inventory management?
Really, right? Yeah, you can't just say, hey, well, we'll just leave that here for him when he comes back next time. Yeah,
I've got this magic little bag right here. Why doesn't it just go in there?
Exactly, this magic hole. The thing is, I went and did it last night, but it was after the day one patch, and it worked fine for me. Like, I had a full thing, and I was like, oh, shit, and I opened the thing, and it said, you're full, and it was still there when I came back. So either they addressed it, or that never was a bug. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
So, worked for me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, so 1 out of 10 is bullshit. Don't buy that. Don't buy that person's rhetoric. And the game is phenomenal. If you got a console, Xbox, I guess it's probably fine on the Series S too. You know, it's just a watered down version of the X. But if you got Xbox Series X, you can do no wrong getting it on that platform. It just looks very, very, very good. Highly recommend it. It's well worth it. What I wouldn't recommend is worrying about whether you get any of those bonuses. I kind of wish, you know, that really what I went for the deluxe package was for the 3-day early access.
Yeah.
But as far as the clothes, now, know this too. A lot of people were collecting all the clothing. You only have 20 slots, and so a lot of people were trying to hold on to stuff, thinking that if they wanted to look a certain way, that they had to have that stuff. Well, that's not the case. Once you get something,
are pretty obvious.
Yeah, once you get something and you change it out, you can change back to that thing. It's just once you get it, it's yours. So so let's say whatever you put on takes your defense up 15 points. Well, you take it up those 15 points, and you can go change back to whatever you just had it on. No whoop.
Right, your cosmetics in this game, that was a big thing as well. I'm always a huge fan of being able to freely, choose the clothes for my model.
Damn right, gotta look good.
Yeah, it's a fashion show, man.
You know it. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, unless there's anything else
from Hogwarts, no, I'm sure I'll be talking about it more as we go, as I find out more about it. 5 hours ain't shit when it comes to being out a week already for me.
Right.
I mean, it's really sad.
I finally sat down and played Morrowind not that long ago.
I saw you playing that, yeah.
I still haven't really gotten to a real play point. I'm still power gaming.
Oh, shit, son. And that reminds me, I was supposed to tell you about my wife's Skyrim experience. So go ahead. After that, we'll talk about that.
Not much to say about it. I've just been purposely, efficiently leveling. You don't really have to do it in the game. But I'm just kind of playing around with what my ideas would be for future builds by the efficient leveling, so that when I want to jump in and play something a little bit more melee oriented or whatever, I can do it. I'm not worried about it. But Skyrim?
Yeah, so she loaded up. We played it on the cloud. That's one thing that's awesome about this beta cloud thing. So from Game Pass, you can just play from the cloud. You don't even have to install it. So rather than waste my space before she knew she wouldn't like it, we just played from the cloud. And I got to say, like, right off the bat, same impression as I have with Morrowind. Graphics could have been way better. They're not terrible. They're better than Morrowind. But and I know this game's a few years old, but still, I think they could have been way better.
Well, you can upgrade that. There are patches out.
Oh yeah, for the console. I doubt it's for console. You can do that.
I doubt it's for console.
Yeah.
One of the
anyway, so first of all, she came out with survival mode on. We didn't even know about that until she asked somebody, and she's like, "Why the fuck I don't have any money for nothing because I've got to buy this to stay warm." Blah blah blah. And we turned that off, and that seemed, so I let her play a little more after that, and she still hated it. I mean, it's just not what she wants.
It's not for everybody, man. I mean, just the way that you level up in those games, kind of the power gaming that you can do. That's the real appeal of it, and you've got to have a certain mindset to want that.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Now, the stories are great too, but
yeah. Well, I guess I'll never know because I doubt I'll play it, and I guess she isn't, so I won't even hear it at least to know what's going on. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was meaning to tell you that Skyrim failed.
Well, that brings us to the Goonies.
The Goonies. Gosh, hell, we've talked about so much other stuff tonight. It's amazing. We've even got much time to talk about this at all.
Right.
Just first of all, one of the most iconic movies of our time. For kids at our age, that was just seeing other kids your age go off on an adventure like that. I think it's probably, when you're that age, that's just what you want to do. You just want to go off on an adventure. So Spielberg hit it out of the park by putting a bunch of kids on TV that, from a range, because you have Brant in there too, who's a little older. So you even pull in some of the older guys, and you had the girls in there that were kind of a little older than the kids too. So you had a whole range. That's the only place
I ever knew Josh Brolin from.
Right? Yeah. I'm not when somebody. It took me a while to even connect the two. Like I knew him, but I didn't.
Well, yeah. I mean, nobody knew who he was up until Thanos, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, for me, it was that Western thing he did.
The Outer Range?
No, with the hole in the side of his face. That guy, that comic character, that obscure comic character. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's like Rex or I can't.
Jonah Hex.
Jonah Hex. Yeah, I knew it had Rex or Hex or something in there. But yeah, I watched that movie too. I wish I could get that time back.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That wasn't a very popular movie.
God, that movie sucked. There's a reason certain comic book characters don't get made into movies, people. And that's one of them. Jesus, that was horrible. Anyway, the Goonies, man, you had, Sean Astin.
Yep.
You had
the Corey
Feldman. Just Corey Feldman. You didn't have Haim. Yeah,
I'm thinking of Macho.
Yeah, you had the little Asian guy, Data. You had Chunk, he was a little fat kid. And then you had the two girls who ended up kind of being Goonies, but weren't really supposed to be Goonies. They weren't in the club or anything. They just kind of ended up on the adventure with them and ended up being Goonies.
Well, no, that was one of the things we wanted to talk about, right? Because in one version, there is apparently an initiation ceremony.
Yeah, Well, that's what brought this up, was the fact that when the theater release happened, you have your theatrical cut. Well, then back then, cable TV was even for this movie who wasn't all that racy at all. They still have standards for certain things, so they cut things, but rather than mess with the timing of the movie, there's cutting room floor stuff that they use instead. So there's a whole scene. Everybody remembers where Brant gets Troy holds him to the car and he runs with him on the bike and he flies off of the ravine or whatever. Well, the reason Troy does that is because there's a whole scene in a convenience store where Mouth's in there looking at a porno or whatever, and Troy comes and messes with him and it's kind of like picking on him and got him in a fighting him or whatever. But then Brant comes up and takes up for Mouth. Well, this pisses Troy off. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to tell my daddy," and so that's why that whole scene even happens. It makes a whole lot more sense now when you have that context, but. For timing or whatever reason, it just wasn't in the theatrical cut. So they had it in in one of the cable TV versions of it.
Right.
Same thing.
What made it for me is I was thinking I was having synesthesia earlier when we were talking about this because there's an octopus scene.
Yes.
I both remember and don't remember.
Exactly. A lot of people probably remember and don't remember it because they've probably seen it on cable TV when they were kids or younger. And
the first thing that I thought of when somebody told me that was I remember Data talking on the beach about it, and then I saw it. I was like, "Oh yeah,
yeah." Well, there's that whole scene on the beach, or they talk about the octopus, and we're all thinking, "Oh, okay, well they're just talking big."
Right, yeah.
Right.
Like, I didn't see an octopus.
Because everybody knows that Chunk always... No, was it... Yeah, Chunk always lied about things. So you just assume that that's what was going on there. Well, no, there is an octopus. It's not great looking. I mean, actually, for the time, considering one CG, if you see it out of the water, I saw a picture of it. It actually looks pretty good.
I mean, I think it was more of an issue with, like, the scenes, like the underwater parts of the scenes weren't that visible.
Yeah, and there's like they had the giant beak underwater, and like somebody sticks a big gem in it to keep the mouth from closing in on it. It's got the Martha Plimpton. It's her character who's entwined in the thing,
right? And
so I mean, so that's a major big scene that obviously people probably remember seeing on cable that wasn't in the theatrical release. And then a whole other thing going on that probably nobody knows about because it never was shown was these two gorillas. Okay, so to set this up, there's a scene that
everybody bee story.
Yeah, the bee story that just makes no sense at all, really. In fact, Richard Donner probably I'll get to that part. So there's a scene in the movie where they're pushing on these pipes. They come underneath all these pipes underneath the city. And, Sloth pushes one up and you hear some woman scream, in their car wreck and all that stuff. Well, so apparently as they're pushing one of those up, they set free a bunch of animals at the zoo or something like that. So these two gorillas escape, and these gorillas have a fetish for riding in anything red. Troy's got a red Mustang. There's like a red golf cart somewhere that we never see. So the whole B story of this movie, these apes are riding around in Troy's Mustang and this golf cart, just causing mayhem everywhere around the city while the Goonies are off doing their thing.
Right. And
it's just completely pointless. In fact, Richard Donner, who directed the Goonies, didn't even want to direct any of these scenes. This was a whole Spielberg thing that Spielberg was just obsessed with and just insisted it be in the movie. So he's like, "Fine, but you direct them all." And I guess so. Spielberg did direct them. That somewhere they must. I don't know if they exist in good enough shape because I've seen them. I've seen what has shown up on YouTube.
Right.
But
I think I may have remember seeing like something from them, but I don't know if they're available these days.
Well, funnily enough, the gorillas are from a movie that kind of was a big box office flop, Greystoke. And they're beautiful gorillas that were made for that movie. So, for the time, they weren't bad, but they kind of looked goofy from what I saw. They look better in Greystoke, in my opinion, because they were a little more gray. They painted them kind of brown in this Goonies thing. But, I mean, I just remember being in the theater and seeing that movie and walking out. And the first thing I just wanted to do was go find a pirate map and
Right.
go on an adventure, man. That's all I wanted to do. Because a kid, just I don't know. For me, it just seemed a possibility. It didn't seem like it was complete fantasy or what. Maybe I can get a group of my friends and we can go. May not be pirate treasure, but it may be a treasure of some kind to us. Because that's just what we did, kids. We didn't have internet, and we actually went outside to play. So we had forts and tree houses, and God, if you hadn't made a fort out of your room, out of sheets, and having your friends over for a slumber party and making forts and shit like that, you ain't lived. Like, it's easy to see where a group like the Goonies could come from with any of your friends. Growing up.
And that was really what it felt like it was supposed to represent, like kind of this weird, chaotic group of friends.
Yeah, and they were all and not only but they were all what you would call losers. They were all the geeks of the time.
Yeah.
Except for Brant. I mean, Brant was just the older brother, but in the group itself, they were all the outcasts, the nerds. Right. So, hey, I'm a nerd. So, it just fit right for me. It just felt like it was right up my alley, man.
Well, one thing is, it is a cult classic. It did not perform that well in the theaters. It did okay. It made more than it cost to make.
Yeah, it certainly did okay.
Really didn't knock it out of the park. But, it's so weird because it feels like everybody I've run into from our generation, if I ever say Goonies Never Say Die, they don't ask what that's from, right?
No,
everybody knows where that's from.
Yeah, I mean, how I could say it didn't do well, it's just really surprising because it's just, everybody knows it. Everybody saw it.
Right.
Yeah.
Great movie though, and it was really easy to associate with more than one character.
Oh right? Yeah, all of them had something. Like I said, it was all those characters are all separate people, but they were all me. You take them all and put them together, and that was me. And each one of those characters had a little something for me, so I could identify with all of them, even Sloth. It didn't matter any of them. It was just a little something. But it will go down as it stays as an all-time classic, and definitely the kind of thing that we like, and that that's kind of like what we do here on this channel. Yeah. The Goonies and Star Wars and things like that. There's not really much left I wanted to talk about. I did see today that the great Roseanne Barr is making a comeback. I remember seeing her very first stand-up back in the day. And I'm thrilled to bits that she's making a comeback because, first of all, she's infamous from, like, let's say the national anthem at the baseball game back in the day. She has stirred up her fair share of controversy long before this second run of Roseanne got her kicked off.
Right.
She's always been one to push people's buttons, and I can't think of a better time to have Roseanne around pushing people's buttons than right now. Because I'm all for breaking up this hurt generation. Everybody needs to be a little butthurt. Everybody needs to laugh with each other. And stop being so damn serious about everything. And if you go and see her, you'll definitely get a wake-up call. Because I think it'd be hilarious. That's all I really have to say about that. I'm just happy that she's making a comeback and coming back stand-up.
I have no ill will towards her necessarily, but I just was never a huge fan.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about her that I've always just... for one, she had my last name for a while, so that was kind of fun.
Right.
People used to always make jokes about that. But one, Roseanne, the show, was just one of the greatest shows I still watch. My wife can't stand to watch it with me, and even I have a hard time nowadays because it really is just dripping with liberal yuck. Is the Connors. I still watch it because I just loved that show. There's just something about that show I just loved back in the day. And it stood up well. Obviously, it still stands up if it can stand around today, but without her in it, just they had the first season with her in it, and she was the only one in there that was kind of like saying anything that wasn't just making you want to wince. And just like everything else, they had to get rid of her. Can't say anything truth. Can't tell the truth in this world right now. If you do, you'll get canceled. They got a strong hold on us, but they're losing that hold. That's what makes me happy right now. Getting a little fight back. That's it. That's all the news we got today.
Is that it?
Yep. I don't think we got anything left on it.
I think you may have mentioned you wanted something else from...
Well, I just said, I saw this thing. Somebody asked if Cyberpunk's music too detached from the story.
Right.
And I can't. I had the game up the other day, but I don't even remember. Because it was something to the effect of like it's just there. It's in the background.
Right. Well, no, I mean, so here's my thing with it. I have an opinion on how music should be done in those types of games.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, I wanted to get into that specifically, though. It felt like all the music that they put into the game, they pulled from a bunch of libraries of electronic music, right?
Yeah.
That kind of seemed to be a common denominator across a few different fields.
So they went to the YouTube fair use page and just pulled down everything from there.
Well, no, they made agreements, I'm sure, with everybody that had.
I'm just kidding about that. I'm just like, it'd be easier to just do it that way, is what it seemed like.
Well, no, that's what I was going to say. I kind of feel like there should be a streaming plugin to games like that. Like, I want a Walkman mod for Cyberpunk.
Some of them kind of have that, actually. My American Truck Driver game has like you can play your own shit. There's some internet radio stations, like you can play it to where it sounds like Grand Theft Auto, where it's playing through the radio. So that would be akin to what you're talking about. Only you say you want to get a Walkman in like Cyberpunk, go buy a Walkman somewhere, and all of a sudden now I can listen to whatever. Or
it wouldn't even be a Walkman. It
just
would
whatever,
be something you get at the beginning of the game, just this little data shark that goes in the back.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I mean, just the little things like that do enhance the game a little bit. And
I agree.
I tell you what, I like the little internet pulling off the little free stations, like, and just finding, like, I'll throw on like 80s.
Yeah.
And man, it will take me into a place because I mean, you just start feeling, like you're back in time all of a sudden, where you're just hearing that music only, and I'm in this game, I'm in this world. Oh man, it's something to be said about that, about good music and whatever. Can really take you to a place.
It also feels like most games, like Morrowind's obviously a bad culprit of this. All old games are. Of just your limited soundtrack, right? If you're going to spend hours and hours in this game, you can't listen to the same. I think in Cyberpunk, it's maybe an anthology's worth of music available.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just not enough.
Yeah, we need a whole 12-hour. I mean, it's an open world game.
Yeah,
it's a lot to look at.
Right.
So you're gonna be in there a hot minute. Need to have different access to different kinds of stuff. I guess somebody will make the case though that hey, you can just flip your MP3 player on in the background and do whatever. That's what somebody will say.
Yeah, and I understand that. I don't know. For me, it's something about the immersion, being able to set my master level, my music level, my sound effects level.
Yep.
And just have it all come from one source.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was just a little question I saw that I thought maybe it would be nice to ask, but that pretty much wraps it up.
Was there nothing else left over from the previous episode? I know you just said, well, I know what you just said. I was just wondering because...
well, we just, just recapping.
Okay.
We talked a lot more Star Wars. I was basically thinking that we might... retalk Star Wars or something like that. But basically with Mando, we got into that territory. I always feel like, hey, we're talking Star Wars this episode. Did we talk enough about Star Wars last episode? I don't know. But then we made up for it here. So And again, you know, recapping, one thing you'll know about us is we'll talk about ADHD a lot, and you see it's something we have to fight in every episode, because we can easily, between the two of us, thank God we don't have like 3 or 4 people in this podcast, because imagine the tangents of four people with the same kind of interest, all having ADHD all over the road.
I don't have to imagine. I had my own Goonies squad.
Yeah, we were,
and that was what it was like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, me, you, Darren, and everybody else that ran around. Yeah. We had our own Goonies squad for a while, definitely, in our late high school years, early adult years. Yeah. It was definitely like that. But
full night spent just talking.
Yeah,
about nothing.
Tell me about it. And then, you know, just to be able to do what we've done, like this is the 3rd episode. We've got it. I would have had this one out Monday. I mean, last episode's out on Monday again, but I was just having technical difficulties like crazy. But yeah, so I'm really happy with all that ADHD BS that we have to deal with. We're still making something happen here. So it just proves that you can live with it. That's kind of the point. In talking about living with it, and this just proves you can, and you don't have to be on the Adderall or whatever, which by the way is in a major national shortage right now, if y'all did not know that. That's not a good thing. Yeah, my doctor, which I'm not on it, but I'm on something else that's kind of in a shortage right now, and so yeah,
I can't get on it because I would be way too addicted to it.
Me too, bro. I've had some over the years, and let's say I got a lot done, but I can't imagine being on it every day. Could not imagine being on it every day. I was like a freaking crackhead, man.
I was gonna say I'd pop it like it was candy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a lot done. Yeah, but I didn't sleep either, so
yeah, good. Right.
I'd rather have my 5 hours a day. I can get by on that. But yeah, so
cool, man.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So. We appreciate you hanging out with us again, and
thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll see you guys with the same amount of stuff, same kind of stuff.
Don't
on the
forget
flip side.
To
what am I forgetting?
Hit that.
Oh yeah, hit that like button and give us a subscribe, please, because we need to grow this channel. We need all the help we can get. We're little virgin YouTubers, so we have we can count our followers on one hand, and I bet 2 or 3 of them are our own accounts, if I had to guess. So,
well, I know at least one of them is somebody I've known for a long time, right?
Yeah, well, one of them's somebody I know too. So, well, no, 2 people. So maybe they are real.
Right.
Anyway, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
it helps us a lot.
And the subscribe is going to help us grow. If you got comments to drop,
please drop them.
We try to stay interactive with the comments.
Yeah, we're going to get more interactive. We mentioned that in the last episode with opening up chat and stuff like that. It doesn't make sense when you don't have anybody watching, but as we grow and get more people, we'll get all that kind of thing in, and everything will polish as we polish. As it gets as more people watch and stuff. And anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us. Yeah, we'll add a few more features. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the flip side. Take care now.